All right, what's going on YouTube? This is BoxingWave, and I wanted to do a review on the Joker film, Joker played by Joaquin Phoenix. Okay. Reason why I'm doing this review: Joker's my favorite villain of all time. Batman's my favorite superhero. So I do comic book adapted film reviews here and there. Okay. Um, so I'm no stranger to this. I got a couple of requests, and I figured, let me do a review. There's a lot of things I would like to cover, but I don't want to make the video too long. Okay, this is going to be a spoiler review. Okay, so the movie's been out for about a week now. I think everyone probably should have seen it by now. If you haven't, you don't want to know what happens in the film, then turn this review off. Okay, but the film been out for at least a week now. So but let's talk about the film, okay? I'll get into the comparisons with Jokers, Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson, Mark Hamill, all of that stuff in the end of this video. But I want to get through the actual film right now. All right. So I really liked the film. I thought Phoenix's Joker was perfect. Okay. I really didn't have any issues with him playing the Joker. It was a different Joker from what we've seen before, but I liked it. I really loved it. All right. And this film was about the Joker and how Arthur Fleck became the Joker. Okay. What he's gone through in life to become the Joker. Okay. This is not criminal minded Joker. This is not the Joker that we seen in the Dark Knight and the animated series or the original Batman film and before that. This is not that. This is him as a normal guy that's going through mental illness, okay, that was poor and was going through a whole bunch of stuff, all right? They break we see in this film all the things that drove him crazy and got him to the point where he became the Joker, okay? Um what I liked about the film is the one of the first things that I liked about it that I noticed is the environment. It reminds me of old 80s, early 90s New York City when it was just filthy, from the cars to the garbage on the ground to the graffiti on the walls. This is a very dark, depressing films, and this is kind of where the whole comic book route has gone, just dark films. That's what we saw in the Batman trilogy, okay, Nolan's trilogy. So you're getting a lot of that in this film. This is rated R, so it's a lot more violent than most comic book films. It's like violent, like how Logan was very, very violent. Okay, so I like the environment. They didn't slip up like some movies. Some movies will make they'll have the setting will be back in the 80s 70s or whatever, and then you see some stupid like an iPhone or something like that, something that a lot of these movies will slip up, but me, I didn't notice anything. I think the movie really felt like it was an older film because of the environment was really, they did a really, really good job with that. Okay. So basically Arthur Fleck in this film is just a clown, who performs whatever he does. They start him out in the street. Um, the guys that have stores that are going out of business and they're like, hey, sell, everything half off, and he's flipping the sign around and he's a clown. He has the whole red nose and the big shoes, and that's how it starts. All right. And he lives with his mother, who also suffers from mental illness. I'll talk more about her shortly, but he lives with her. He takes care of her. It's just him and her. And, this guy is just working these little gigs. He does comedy on the side. He's trying to prepare to be a stand up comedian. That's what he wants to do. Okay. And um, they go through everything. Like, there's so much I could talk about, but I'm going to go right through it. The things that drive him crazy in this film, okay? He does this clown thing and he gets jumped, kids jump him in the beginning of the film. He gets beat up. You can tell that even though he only got beat up a couple times in this film, you can tell like this is a regular thing for him. Like even when he's getting jumped, he's just kind of laying there and he gets beat up, okay? Then you guys a social worker that he goes and sees, and and you can tell that she doesn't care about him. She doesn't really listen to him. It's just like she's just there for the paycheck. She doesn't give a damn. You know how that works. Then he's addicted to his medication, that he takes, and he's asking for a stronger prescription of whatever he's taking. Um, this getting beat up throughout the film. Um, this is a guy that's his life sucks. He has a shitty job with shitty pay. He gets in trouble at work for getting beat up. He gets in trouble for at some point he's given a gun, and this is one of the issues that I had with the film. A small issue. They never really explained why that whole thing with the gun happened. The guy just kind of gave him the gun and then blamed or said later that Joker was trying to buy it from him. But they didn't really elaborate on that. But anyway, let's move forward. So, he's given a gun by an employee, and then he drops it while performing in front of uh, kids that's suffering from cancer. Right? He's performing and he's dancing around. He drops the gun and he gets fired. And it's bad enough because he's poor. He's taking care of his mom. He lives in a dirty building, and he goes through all of this stuff, right? Then later in the film, Thomas Wayne, who is Bruce Wayne's father, the Batman's father, he is like a rich politician. He's trying to be mayor of Gotham, okay? And, at some point in the film, he finds out or he believes that Thomas Wayne is his dad, okay? So he goes through that, and then he finds out later the real truth, which drives him off the wall crazy. Like, this is where he rages, and this is where the beginning of when he starts to become the Joker. All right. So he goes through all of that. All right. So let's talk about more about the film. He has the hallucinations throughout the film, which is another big thing apart from film. I mean, he's suffering through mental illness, and he goes through these hallucinations throughout the film. Okay. The first thing that we find out is that he watches a talk show. That is the host of the talk show is Robert De Niro. He plays as Murray. All right, it's like the Murray Show. And this is like his favorite show. All right, this is Joker's favorite show. He watches it with his mom at home, and he hallucinates as he's watching the show. He pictures himself there in the audience, and he's hoping to get picked. And that's what happens early in the film. He hallucinates about the show. He's there in the audience. He laughs, and he gets picked out of the show. He gets to speak in front of the crowd, and Robert De Niro gives him a hug, and he's like, I wish you have a son like you." This is a guy. This is what happens when you really have nothing. You think of the best of every little thing that you see. No one interacts with you. So as he's watching the show, he clearly idolizes this man on the television. Okay. It's like he's a grown man, clearly. All right. This is a younger Joker, obviously, but he's still a grown man in this film. Okay. He's still an older guy. He's probably like a middle age. If he's not in his 40s, he's still like an older guy, but he has the mind of like a young child. Okay. And he hallucinates about the show. Another thing he hallucinates about is this woman that lives in his building. Okay, beautiful woman. She's there with her daughter, and she lives in the same building. And there's a scene where he goes into the elevator, and he's in the elevator with the girl and the daughter. They don't know each other, but the daughter is being a kid. The girl is a little bit getting aggravating the mom, and she looks at the Joker, and she just goes like this, like and at that moment he begins to hallucinate about this woman throughout the film. He in his mind thinks that they're together. So you will see these parts of the film where she's with him, but she's not actually there at all. But you don't notice, I mean, things are over the top. So I kind of assumed that he was hallucinating, but things kept happening. There's moments of the film where she's there for him. All right. And these are important times in the film. Now, like I said, he there's a point where he follows her to work, follows her to drop her daughter off, follows her to work, and there's some scene where he believes that she comes and knocks on his door and asks him, "Hey, were you following me today?" And they get into a whole interaction that's very friendly. And he's like, "Hey, I do comedy. Come to my show." He does a comedy show. Now, this comedy show, even though there's no internet back then, it goes viral, right? And the show Murray, the comedian, I mean, the guy that has the late night show, plays his comedian set on the show. But the thing is, he's making fun of his performance because his performance was so bad. He just goes on stage and starts laughing because, oh, how do I miss this? The Joker, I'm trying to cover everything as much as I can. The Joker has a condition where he laughs, right? And he can't control himself from laughing. All right, he even has a card saying once he starts laughing, he can't stop. So he'll pull the card out and show it to people like, listen, this is my condition. Okay, he did it earlier in the film. All right, and I don't want to get back on track, but anyway, he laughs. He goes on stage and does this weird laugh that he has throughout the film, and he has moments where he does his comedy. The girl is sitting in the crowd. His mother's in a hospital. The girl's with him in a hospital. There's a time where he walks into the girl's apartment and starts making out with her. He thinks like they're a couple. You know, there's a scene where they're in the street. Together. It's like these scenes keep happening throughout the movie, and she's actually not even really there. So let me go back to the laugh real quick. The laugh is a key thing in this film because every time he laughs in this film, all right, outside of maybe a scene towards the end when he's in his Joker stage, all right, in the very end of the film, and probably in the beginning where he's hallucinating about being on that Murray show, he laughs every time. Other than those two moments, every time he laughs in a scene is probably because he's going through some kind of pain. Okay, he's either pissed off, he's either getting jumped. It seems like the points where he's crying, he does that laugh. It seems like the points where he gets pissed off or he's annoyed or it's just nothing but painful moments for him. That's when he does the laugh. Okay, and the laugh sounds just like the Joker. The Joker, all of them have their different laughs, but it's that same laugh that the Joker has, and he does it throughout the film. It's like I'm not gonna even try to do it. I was about to try to do it, but anyway, so it's the laugh. So going into the movie, the film basically is like this. There's a point in the film where he's on a train and he shoots these three kids that are rich, and Thomas Wayne happened to know him, and the film takes a twist because people start idolizing him because a clown, an unknown clown on a train, shoots these three wealthy kids that Thomas Wayne, who's rich, know. Okay? And the reason why the public, it kind of reminds me of what's going on in the world now, or what's going on in this country now with Donald Trump, and the social aspects of things. The rich and the poor had a lot to do with that. A lot of the poor are tired of the rich, okay? And it reminded me of the battles between conservatives and liberals that we have now in social justice. And people felt like this guy that killed these three guys on the street, and he was wearing a clown mask, which he was he was wearing a clown thing, and he had this gun. And basically on the train, he gets into a situation where he's laughing. I don't want to talk too much, but you see, he kills these three guys on a train because they jumped him on a train, because he's laughing. But they don't know that it's his condition. They think that he's laughing at them. Right? They were harassing a girl. He starts laughing and they jump him. So he shoots them because he's given a gun earlier in the film. And people are they're doing a mask thing. The city, the Gotham City is, they're all wearing a clown mask that represents the people that want to take over, the people like Thomas Wayne, who's running for mayor. Okay. And Thomas Wayne, to me, I guess it reminds me of Donald Trump, how people view Donald Trump. Maybe I don't want to say that's Donald Trump, but that's how people that hate Trump, they view him, Thomas Wayne, like a Donald Trump. Okay. So the movie turns into that. Like, that's what's going on in the city on outside of the Joker. Okay. People are rioting, people are protesting against Wayne, and they're wearing a clown mask because of that shooting. Right. So now let's get down to the nitty gritty of the film. I don't want to talk too much about the film. But okay. So his mother. His mother is mentally ill, and the one thing that she asks her son, who's the Joker, to do is to check the mail every day. And she's basically writing to Thomas Wayne. She used to be an employee for Thomas Wayne, okay, Bruce Wayne's dad, and she was fired. And the Joker doesn't know why. I'm just keep saying the Joker. It's Arthur Fleck doesn't know why his mom is asking, but she's just waiting for a return mail from Thomas Wayne to help them. Basically, she leaves mail on the table, the coffee table in the living room, and Joaquin Phoenix reads the mail, and it's she's basically saying, "Look, I it's me and your son. This is to Thomas Wayne. We're poor, this and that. Help us." And the Joker reads the mail, and he has no idea that Thomas Wayne is his father, right? So he gets into it with his mom. She goes to the hospital. He didn't attack her, but she eventually goes to the hospital, and he begins to hunt to try to speak to Thomas Wayne. So he goes to the house, and when he goes to the house, you see young Bruce, right? And he interacts with Bruce. He has a moment there, and you thinking like, okay, is this going to where I hope this doesn't turn into Bruce Wayne is actually my brother. I was hoping it didn't turn to that. I wouldn't have really liked that, but basically he goes there, interacts with Bruce, and then interacts with the butler, who I believe to be Alfred. And Alfred's like, listen, you're crazy. Your mom is crazy. You're not Bruce Wayne's son. Okay. Oh, you're not Thomas Wayne's son. Okay. And to get out of here. And then there's another moment where he tries to meet Thomas Wayne. He sneaks into a theater that Wayne is in, and he interacts with him in the bathroom. And Wayne is like, listen, man, your mother's a psycho. She's crazy. I am not your father. And, you got to understand, this is like a pivotal moment in the film. He's like, your mom's a psycho. Um, you know, he tells him the truth. Like, you're adopted and all of this stuff. He tells him the truth. So he's bugging out. He's like, yo, how can you tell me this? You're my dad. And he eventually goes to get records at the asylum. Right? He steals the records, and he finds out that everything that Thomas Wayne was saying is true. Okay? That he was adopted. Okay? That he was physically abused by his mother's boyfriend. All right? That boyfriend abused her and him. All right? So this is where all the mental issues are coming from. So at this very moment of the film, he's like unchained. He loses his mind. Even though he shot someone on a train, even though he's been getting beat up, at this moment, everything that he always believed, and then when he found out about Thomas Wayne, everything just went off. This is when he lost it. He lost control. And this is the turning stage of the film, and this is when he starts to become the Joker. Okay, first thing he does, he kills his mother. And then some of the most intense scenes in the film, which separates this film from other Batman films. The moment when he finds out, or we find out, the audience finds out, The scene where he goes into the beautiful woman that lives in the floor with him. He goes into an apartment and she's looking at him like, "What are you doing here?" Now, if you've been watching the film, you would think that they were a couple, right? Because she's been there. No, this is when they tell you that all of this time they show you he was hallucinating, right? And it was very intense from the music that they were playing at the moment, how crazy he looked, how scared and fearful. She's like, "Listen, my daughter's in bed. You're the guy that lives down the hall." And he turns around, looks at her, and goes like this. Does the same thing she did when they were in the elevator. And I think this woman meant so much to him because this is probably like the only person that interacted with him in a nice way, in some sort of nice way. And this is why this woman's probably been on his mind all this time. It's that crazy. Very powerful scene. Um, I think the scene of him preparing. Now, the co-worker that gave him the gun, they visit him in his apartment, him and another co-worker. And this is another and most intense scenes because they come to visit the problem. He hates this guy that gave him the gun because this is the reason why this guy caused him to get fired. And he beats this guy to death. Stabs him in the neck, stabs him. The most brutal scene. This is a rated R movie now. We didn't get this in The Dark Knight, you know? And he brutally kills this man. And at that very moment, I said, this is the Joker. Like, this is what the Joker is, you know? And then there's a scene where he's preparing the show, the late night talk show, gets the film. His performance goes viral. They invite him to the show. All right. So he's preparing. Great acting, by the way. Listen, great acting. He's preparing for this show. He's done doing a walkout in his apartment. All right. He's going to go there with the whole clown thing. And he's feeling good. He's starting to feel it. He's doing these killings, but he's starting to feel himself. He's getting confident as it gets closer to the end of the film. He's becoming the Joker because he has nothing to lose at this point. His screw's loose. He's starting to rage out. And he's preparing for the show. And even that scene, the way that he acted it out, it's just amazing. It's just like, damn, this guy is a really, really good Joker. And he goes on the show. And right before he goes out on stage, they replay his scene from the comedy skit, and he hears the talk show host making fun of his skit while he's there, right behind the curtains. And he goes out there cocky, confident, and they go into a whole debate about he confesses that he did the killings, and he ends up shooting Robert De Niro on national television. And let me tell you something. At that very moment, even before he stepped out there, when I watched the film, I said, if he doesn't kill this guy on national television, this ain't the Joker. Because the real Joker would do that. And I loved it. Um, so at that point, police arrest him. And the one thing that I didn't like about the film, this is when we're closing the film. I thought the whole Thomas Wayne murder in the alley that they always do in every Batman film was kind of forced. Okay, I don't know where this is a standalone film. I don't know where it's going. Um, I don't know where they're gonna go with it, but I thought that was forced. I didn't really like it. I wasn't much of a fan of it. But it is what it is. The whole thing when he's with Bruce is in the alley with his parents, and because of this cult following of the clowns and the riots that's going on throughout the film, because of him, he becomes like a hero, especially after the killing. And they killed Thomas Wayne in an alley because Thomas Wayne is looked at as the rich guy, and these are the poor, and they look at the Joker as a hero. So anyway, outside of that, I actually really enjoy the film. And Phoenix as a Joker, what you gotta understand when people guys gonna see the debates are going, I thought he was perfect, but I thought Heath Ledger was perfect too. They're two completely different films, two different characters. Phoenix is playing the Joker. This is a fully fledged Joker film, okay? Uh, where he's doing this alone. This is no Batman film. And I think people gotta realize that. This guy is showing you this is not criminal minded joking. Criminal minded joking came at the very end of this film. Whereas Heath Ledger is playing a guy that he starts the movie, he's robbing mob bosses. He's robbing them. And at a point in the film, he drives both the district attorney, Harvey Dent. He makes him lose control. He makes Batman lose control. He's driving Gotham crazy. He's tearing it. He's burning the city down. He's killing a lot of people. Okay, Phoenix is never at that point in this film. So you're comparing two totally different characters. Okay, Heath Ledger, you don't know why the madness is there. He's a full blown Joker at that point. You're getting nothing but wittiness and punchlines and humor from him as he's killing people. At that point, he's a different character. Now if you want to compare like the way they look, this one looks more like a clown. Heath Ledger looks like a psycho. Pate is undone. He has scarred. He has a scar of a smile on his face. He tells you how he gets it. Why it's so serious. This is a different Joker, but they're both perfect to me. They both executed it differently, but perfectly to me. I say it's a tie between them two. I like both for different reasons. As far as the films are concerned, one is an action film, which is The Dark Knight, and the other one is a drama. This film, the Joker film, I can't compare to that movie. That's not an action movie. This is more like something like Split or American Psycho. Someone that's a psychopath, a serial killer. This is what I would compare the Joker to. I wouldn't compare it to The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is a comic book film. A dark one, yes, but still PG-13. And that's another point that I want to bring up. Heath Ledger, as violent as he was in that movie, it was never as graphic as this movie was because it was rated PG-13. This is rated R. So, imagine what The Dark Knight would have been if it was rated R. Heath Ledger was already crazy, but they didn't show it. It was in graphic, all right? So I think they were both great. I've heard people on both ends state why they thought Phoenix was better than Ledger. Whatever. What I will say is that those two are clearly the best Jokers. I didn't mention the dancing in this film too. The dancing was something else that was major in this film. He would do this weird ballet dancing. I don't know if that was some kind of therapy. He would do it at certain moments of the film after he did something crazy or right about before he did something crazy. Okay? So you had to laugh, you had to dance, you had the fact that Phoenix was so skinny in this film. The way that he looks, his body, he was shirtless, his rib cage is showing, and he would just move. The way his body was moving. These guys prepared for this, so they blew the other Jokers out of the water. Jack Nicholson was a great Joker, but I mean that was so many years ago. I mean these guys evolved. And they put their own spin on each Joker. You know, and I think both of them executed it well. Whether you like the movie or not, that was a great Joker in my opinion. All right. Um, there's so many little things, and I'm trying to cover it all, but uh, a great film, And I just want to say too before I end this video, I would like to see if they're gonna come out with a sequel to this. I don't know where they're gonna go if they don't involve the Batman, because I don't know if they're going to. I guess if they're gonna make another movie, obviously they're gonna have the Joker as the criminal minded Joker. Okay, so they could do it. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but I think if they make another film, obviously we're not gonna see him building and growing and becoming the Joker. At that point, he's gonna be more like the Heath Ledger Joker. Okay, uh, so I think that I'm just gonna wait and see. But one thing I want to say is, people, if you are a fan of these films, all right, if you're a Batman fan, if you're a comic book fan, you have to watch the animated films. Like, the fact that people really don't watch them because they think that they're cartoons. These Some of them are, they're not even for children. Some of them, you have to watch the animated Batman films. You have to watch The Return of the Joker, the Batman Beyond one. You have to watch The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2. You have to watch Under the Red Hood, Mask of the Phantasm, you have to watch the animated series. I used to watch that every day coming home from school at 4 p.m. I used to get home and watch it with my dad back then. The animated series was great. It was a great cartoon. You have to watch it, and if you haven't watched, because the DC movies are not that good, you have to watch these films, and not just the Batman ones. Watch the Justice League, watch the Superman ones, watch the Flashpoint Paradox. These are really, really, really good films that are better than the the live TV shows and the films, the actual live, real life movies. You can't compare Batman v Superman and Justice League to these films. These animated films are much better films. So you have to watch those. Mark Hamill plays a good joke, voices a great Joker. You have to throw him up there as top Jokers as well. You know. So anyway, great film to me. A great Joker, excellent Joker. Let me know what you did. Think in the comments. I try to cover as much as I can in this film off the top of the head. Is really, really hard to do it. Uh, but yeah, I think I got it all for the most part. All right, let me know how you feel in the comments. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and like the video if you like the video. Peace.